Us in Baltimore, gobble gobble, and the turkey and the pumpkin pie and all that good stuff with football on Thanksgiving, but there's also some basketball going on. This guy is our basketball aficionado around here, as well as our golf leader of all things down at Compass Point. He's been following the hardwoods here for a couple of weeks. They are back out dribbling. I had Juan Dixon on this week. We've talked some Maryland basketball, amongst others. Robert Canady is our insider and has been for a number of years around here. You can follow him at Buckets and Birds. Buckets for basketball, birds for, well, birdies. And you can follow that out on Twitter as well as down at Compass Point. Robert, welcome in, man. We're finally getting into this thing. Hey, Maryland's going to be playing some Big Ten games next week, right?
Yeah, it looks like finally getting past the intro part of their schedule. They've got a couple conference games early in December, which is unusual this year because the Big Ten tournament and their desire to play at Madison Square Gardens had to move up to start a week this year. So they're actually having the Big Ten tournament a week earlier than normal to play in New York. So that kind of cramped the schedule. So every team's playing a couple conference games in December as opposed to the usual start in January. So, yeah, they've got a home and an away game. Purdue will be coming into the Xfinity Center, and then they go to Illinois. And right before that, they'll be playing the ACC Challenge against a former Big Ten school, Syracuse. So, it's the musical conference schedules.
Well, that starts next week. I mean, they kind of get into it, but the Bucknell thing, Luke and I were on a plane going out to Milwaukee. We were kind of monitoring the game. Luke was watching it on his phone. We took off, and it was like a 2-point game with 5 minutes left to go, and I'm like, wow, they're in trouble. We landed on the other end and, saw that they pulled it out, but I guess perceptions are formed early in the year for all of these teams because year to year, I can't think of a sport where the teams change as much. And, you pull Melo Trimble out, all of a sudden these first 5-6 games they got to go play. You really don't know what's up. But one thing we know is Morcell can play a little bit, right?
He can. Was recently named Big Ten Player of the Week, a Freshman of the Week, for the Big Ten. So that's a good honor for him early in the season. And, he definitely brings, a lot of excitement and ability to them and everything. He's nursing a little bit of an injury right now. It shouldn't be anything too serious, but I think a little bit of a hamstring. But, the game against Bucknell, they just played horribly the first half. And Bucknell's a good team, as we've spoken about before.
Sure.
They've played a few of the local teams here, and they're picked to win the Patriot League, so they're no slouch. And they definitely caught Maryland's attention in the first half, and we're up 15 at halftime after, just like I said, a horrible first half by Maryland. But, Maryland got the energy going in the second half, came back. They were up 6 with about 30 seconds to go. Bucknell hits a 3, and then actually on the inbounds play with less than a second to go, Morcell got called for a charge, which gave Bucknell the ball with a half a second to go to throw up a prayer three-pointer, and actually they didn't get it off in time, even if it gone in. The ref was already waving it off. But, definitely put a scare into Turgeon, I'm sure, is one of those early season home games you don't expect to lose. But, was a good test for them and, overcome some adversity as far as getting down and coming back and seeing what they were made of.
Well, at least they survived, right? Robert Canady joining us here. Hey, Maryland's going to slow down again after this Syracuse, Purdue, Illinois, Ohio, Gardner-Webb, Catholic, FDU, UMBC. For these other schools, and I talk to Juan once a week, and, of course, we are the voice of Coppin State University around here. I mean, the amount of airplanes they've been on alone, and last week I'm talking to him. He's in Texas. After that, it's Ohio. This week, they were up in Connecticut, and they lost a late game to Central Connecticut State. They haven't won yet. But, boy, you take it on this kind of a schedule and this kind of travel, it really is something for 18, 19, 20-year-old people, I think, and especially when you're overmatched, they're getting on the floor against the likes of Oregon and whatnot. And, we've seen Morgan maybe cut down a little bit on some of the money games. They took a lick into West Virginia, top 25 team, earlier this week as well. But this is the time of the year where you look at Maryland and you're like, well, they're coasting and scheduling Bucknell and still getting a run. These other schools sort of run all over the world. I mean, Towson's taken on some big games and has managed to win them so far.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. We've spoken about the money games in the past, and it's something they all kind of need to do for the budget reasons. And Towson is really, as far as on the road a lot, and then over the next 2 weeks, they're down in Florida this week with a 3-game tournament playing down there, and then they'll come back for one home game, and then they'll head over to Ireland for 2 games over there before they come back and play a few more home games. So yeah, it's actually, I was speaking to Pat Scary about that a week or so ago, that this is probably in his tenure since he's been here, the most road games they've had in a non-conference. Usually, they've been to the point where they could schedule some home games and get people to come into CQ. And he said this has been one of his most challenging years. He said he can't get anyone to come in.
Well, when you improve, that's part of the problem, right? I mean,
exactly,
after Fang won at Coppin, no one wanted to play Fang for a couple years, and that's sort of the nature of the beast, right? That lets you know you've arrived when Oregon doesn't want to see you ananymore.
Yeah, a victim of your own success, and he just, speaking of that, he won his 100th game at Towson earlier this week, and when you think that he started 1-31 in his first season, and the fact he's actually now back at a 500 coaching record, is pretty big accomplishment as to what he's done there in the 7 years that he's been there. So, but yeah, they'll be back home and play a few home games, and then they go away. They play 2 tough ones. They'll go at Oakland University and then University of Pitt. Now Pitt's down this year, as we talked about. They lost to Navy earlier in the year, so they'll be catching them at the right time.
Well, they beat Penn the other night too. So taking on schools of sort of similar stature and winning those games, that's good.
Yeah, and that was a neutral court game, so that was tournament atmosphere. With this team that is kind of it's an experienced team, but they also have some new players and the freshmen that are contributing for them. So, it was a really good chance for them to see how they do in a tournament environment on the road. So, they fared well there.
UMBC's been a mixed bag too, right? Went out to Arizona, got clocked out there by one of the best teams in the country, but got a little bit of a measurement. The loss to Colgate, I think, has got to be disappointing to Ryan and those guys over there. They pick it up here on the backside. Chicago State, they get a week down. Then they got Army, Delaware State, at Towson, at Coppin, at Maryland. Going to be a whole lot of local flavor for UMBC over the next month.
Yes, especially there in December. They're playing the campus version of this Battle for Atlantis mainland tournament, where they played a qualifying game against Arizona, which if they had won that, they would have gotten to go to the Bahamas as opposed to Arizona, and spoiled Arizona's Thanksgiving vacation. But the way that tournament's set up is there's a bunch of qualifying games played early. The winners advance to the Bahamas. The losers then kind of play on campus site, consolation brackets. So that's what they're doing this week with that, a couple home games. So it's good that they'll get that tournament games at home, and then you're right, they'll have some local teams like they play at Towson. Coppin will come to their building to play, and then they finish up the non-conference season at Maryland down at Xfinity Center. So, yeah, it's been a little, I think, tougher road than they would have expected there this year, coming off the successful year from last year and bringing back some experienced guards and everything, and Jarius Lyles with being the preseason player of the year for the conference. So it's a little surprising that they're off to that slow start, but again, it's been against a couple big teams early, and we'll see how they do over the next week or so against more equivalent competition.
Robert Canady is here. He is our golfing insider down at Compass Point Golf Course in Pasadena. You just get down there, you play the turkey shoot on Friday, but they're open all the time. And weather's been a little spotty, but when it's good, always there with events, friendly folks, craft beers, and a place close to home down at Pasadena, compasspointgolf.com, the way to find them. Also brought to you by our friends at Box Hill Pizzeria. It's more of a crab cakeria up there in Harford County and Abingdon. They can also be shipped anywhere in the world for this holiday or anytime during the holidays. Surprise someone. BoxHillPizzeria.com. You can place an order there, but it really is a crab cakeria. And next time you're up there, just take a bottle of the salad dressing home and then come back, throw me an email, thank me, let Tommy and Chris know we sent you in. It is Box Hill Pizzeria, the crab cakeria of Abingdon. Robert Canady is our basketball insider when he's not out on the links at Compass Point. And I know you got to look at Loyola. They've had sort of a strange run, right? Like they gave Northwestern trouble early and then sort of rolled over in the Towson game, right? Not really sure what to make of them.
Right. I was out at that house at the Towson game there at Reitz Arena on campus at Loyola, and it was they were blown out from the start, and it's speaking to Gigi Smith afterwards, he basically they had come off, like you said, a good showing with Northwestern, and then they'd lost to Fairfield, and so they were winless at the time, and basically he said we just need to get a win, and he looked ahead and he saw that they had Goucher, Division III team coming in to play at home. In a couple days, and he says, at this point, we just need to get a win and go from there. And sure enough, they did. They beat again, when a Division I team plays Division III at home, you hope you're going to get a convincing win, and they did. So that was the best medicine for them. And again, they've got like UMass Lowell coming up, and then they go to Dartmouth and Mount St. Mary's. So they've got some chances to get the wins here and get it back on the road. But they definitely have gotten off to a tough start and everything there. So
I know you wanted to mention Morgan, and we talked about the big loss to West Virginia and the kinds of games they've scheduled. And again, Todd's kept it very local. I mean, the next couple of weeks, Mount St. Mary's, GW, Navy, Towson, Manhattan, GW again, UMES, all coming up. Very, very local flavor here. And, they've won a couple of ball games here early, right?
Yeah, that's wanted to make sure we touched on that. I mean, outside of Maryland and Towson, they're the other one with the winning record here so far early in the season at 3-2, and that includes a win down at USF in Tampa on the road. So in their second game of the year, so that's a big win. They've won a couple Division III Goldie Bingham, I think it said, and
Lincoln, yeah.
Then Lincoln Division.
That's
Division
not Abraham,
2.
by the way.
No. So,
or the University of Nebraska at Lincoln.
But again, they win those like you're supposed to, and it'll be interesting as you touched on. They do play a lot of the local teams coming up, as you just ran through them. So that'll be a good chance for them to see how they stand up locally compared to everyone else. And they're picked to win their conference, the MEAC. They've got the preseason player of the year in there, Philip Carr, who is an NBA-type body. I mean, he's probably one of the best big guys in the area. A lot of people may not realize it. I mean, he's pretty much a double-double machine. So, they play a good brand of basketball to get out to see. And, good chance to see them against some of these other teams, like you said, at Towson, at the Naval Academy, and Mount St. Mary's. So they'll definitely be good to watch them over the next several weeks.
Well, every time I put ESPN on or college basketball during the week, they had the Maui game going on and all that. And, I often wonder about all that. And, obviously Duke won their big early game last week, as did Kansas. A few of the mighty have fallen. But we're kind of easing into this thing here. And I think, for those of us who follow the Terps, I think they're first off, the start being undefeated, that's all wonderful. That probably will change in the next couple of weeks, given the caliber of talent. But if they make it through this Syracuse, Purdue, Illinois stretch here unscathed, that would really show me something if you and I 2 weeks from now are talking about that.
Absolutely. That'll be, like I said, a good early peek as to where they stand up with those. They've got the good freshmen. We talked about Morcell already. Then Bruno Fernando, who's just been, an injection of energy that I think, honestly, that they need, that they've lacked from the inside in the past.
Well, they rented it 2 years ago for a couple of minutes, but that didn't last long, right?
Right, exactly.
Truth.
That's about what it was. 2 minutes, I think, a stop on the way. So, he needs to probably show a little bit more rebounding effort than he has so far this year. But he's definitely 18 points the other night, and plays with a high energy, a nonstop motor, and if you've seen him, he loves firing up the crowd, and the fans love him. So, he's definitely like I said, a jolt of energy. With Marcel's got so much talent, and Justin Jackson really hasn't started getting going yet. I mean, he's struggling from 3 points, and he's again in that class with Cowan and Herter, the three sophomores now that they're looking to be the nucleus of the team. So,
well, it feels like every night one of them's okay, and every night one of them disappears a little bit, right?
Exactly. And that's good. And, Towson's a lot the same way. It shows your balance, that you're probably any one of those guys could go out and score 22 a night if they design the offense around them. But if one night it's Herter's night, they feed the ball to him. Cowan, can definitely take over the game at a point. And so, you like to have that in case somebody's off. You're not relying on, one person to carry you. You would like to know if it comes down to those games like Bucknell and you need the shot, who's going to take it. You do want to know if that's going to be Cowan or if it's going to be Jackson, who you're going to go to in that aspect.
Well, we've known who it was going to be the last 3 years, right? That was always going to be Trimble, right?
Yeah, so this year they've got to find out who that guy's going to be. And, Towson, going back to that, it's a little bit the same way. They had a game in their tournament in Florida. Mike Morcell finally showed himself this year. He's been one of their better players and leading scorers for the last few years. But, this year he's kind of fallen in the background because they've got two guards who, Brian Starr and Zane Martin, who've been playing at probably at all conference level. And matter of fact, after the Loyola game the other night, when Starr dropped in 21 and like 7 assists, and didn't miss a shot, and Martin had 18 points. Gigi Smith said, they're the 2 best guards in the area. And again, of course, coaches are prone to say things like that after a loss. They want to make it sound like they just lost to the next national champion and everything, but. They definitely Towson's a team like that as well. Any night it could be someone different. And so when you're balanced like that, it definitely leads for more success, long-term success. You're not relying on like the Jarrell Bitterman in years past, such as Towson did.
He is Robert Canady. You can follow him at Buckets and Birds out on Twitter, as well as down at Compass Point Golf. Tell me what's going on. I know you got Turkey Shoot coming up on Friday, but after that, open for business. There have been enough 60, 65-degree days. I went out with a little more than a T-shirt on Tuesday. It's been okay to play golf, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We have people out here that play. They'll throw on a couple layers, and if it gets down into the 40s, and even as long as the wind's not too bad, course is totally playable. We're open every day except for Christmas. But if there's not snow on the ground, we're playing. We've got some great deals in the pro shop to get those holiday gifts. People are out shopping with the Black Friday. Everyone will be doing that, I'm sure, on Friday. And online, you can get gift cards and everything like that. So yeah, a lot of things that can be going on here during the wintertime. We don't shut down completely. We definitely keep our doors open.
Dude, always a pleasure, man. I hope you enjoy the turkey, the eggnog, the pumpkin pie. I mix a little sauerkraut in with me because I'm from the east side, but we'll have some sweet potato pie as well. My wife's laboring on that. Pie crust and shells and all that good stuff. So plenty of leftovers, plenty of leftover basketball with you next week after the Ravens and the Texans get together as well. Have a great holiday, Robert.
Absolutely. Cut another notch in that belt, and we'll talk next week.
Second helping of stuffing and gravy and mashed potatoes and all that good stuff. Plenty of football around all weekend. Luke and I will be on it. You can check us out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. On your mobile device, just download it. It's all brought to you by buyatoyota.com. Morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where it is still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Absolutely guaranteed. Planet Fitness, never any commitment, $10 a month. Any breaking news over the weekend, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. That is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here Wednesday this week, but Thursday next week. Driving you home, getting you ready from 3 until 5 as we get into the meat of the Terps schedule, as well as all the basketball teams, as well as where the Ravens are headed next month. Pretty exciting month around here ahead, I think. Ravens are going to keep this exciting, even if the games aren't exciting. I think you know what I'm talking about. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.